Well, watched episode number 3 of The Comeback, the Netflix documentary on the 2004 Boston Red Sox. I should say World Series champion Boston Red Sox. And guess what? They absolutely nailed the final episode. We're going to discuss the documentary. We're also going to chat with Geoff Iacuessa, president and GM of the Portland Seadogs, a AA affiliate of the Boston Red Sox in the Eastern League. You're right where you need to be. You are Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we are presented by Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Steve Lennox, in this week, we wrap up week number 1 and again next week for the original host of the Locked On Red Sox podcast on the Locked On Red Sox YouTube channel, Gabby Hurlbut. Now, yes, you probably know if you've been with us during the course of this last week, Gabby Maljanian. Gabby and David celebrating. Saturday will be 1 week of wedding bliss for Gabby and David. Again, Gabby will be back week after next. We wish her and David all the best, not only in their first week of marriage, but well beyond into the future as well. Again, our latest Locked On Red Sox brought to you by Prize Picks. We do invite you to participate in today's show. What did you think of the entire documentary if you watched episodes 1, 2, and 3 of the Netflix documentary on the 2004 World Series champion Boston Red Sox? And let's not forget, 20 years ago today, sort of revisited, went back, Michael Lynch, teamheads.com, 2 days ago, Game 1 of the World Series against the St. Louis Cardinals. And then yesterday was Game 2, the 20th anniversary, 20 years ago today. This day, 20 years ago, the Red Sox are heading out to St. Louis. They're in St. Louis getting ready for Games 3 and 4, Game 5 if necessary at this point in time. Game 5 was not necessary. The documentary, I said it after episode 1 earlier in the week. You're going to cry in the first final 10 minutes. You're going to cry. You're going to feel emotion in the final 12 minutes of episode number 3 if you have not watched it already. Now, with 12 minutes to go, they're wrapping up the American League Championship Series, winning Game 7 in New York. Johnny Damon grand slam, 2 home runs total in that lopsided win against the Yankees and completing that comeback that we've never seen before. Down 3-0 in the series against the Yankees. Winner goes on to the World Series. But as I was watching the final 12 minutes, that was it. And they didn't, there was video and stuff, but it was the emotion. And I'll get into this in our third segment as we're going to welcome in Geoff here in just a few moments. But I really thought about the 1980 United States hockey team that won in the semis against Russia. Everyone always thinks that was the gold medal game. No, they still had to win the gold medal game. That was to win and go to that gold medal game. Winning the ALCS, to me, was similar for the Red Sox. You got over that hump. You came from 3 games down, 3-0 down against the Yankees. You still had to win the World Series. And they did in 4 games. So we'll discuss that a little bit more in segment number 4. Have some thoughts, Curt Schilling. Have some thoughts, Millar, Epstein, David Ortiz, Joe Castiglione with the final call. All those different things. But as that last out is recorded against the Yankees in Game 7 of the ALCS in 2004, and that's being chronicled in the final minutes of the documentary in episode 3 from Netflix, you get chills, and then they go into something with the World Series. And you'll get choked up. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Again, Geoff Iacuessa is going to join us in just a moment. Steve Lennox filling in for Gabby Hurlbut. Again, Gabby, now Gabby Maljanian, Gabby and David Maljanian. And Gabby will be back with us soon enough to talk Locked On Red Sox. We've had great guests this week, and we're about to welcome in Geoff, the president GM of the Portland Seadogs, here in just a few moments. I encourage you to go back, whether you watch them on the Locked On Red Sox YouTube channel or where you're on the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts as well, especially yesterday, Pam Ken. Ian Brown, terrific. Devin Marrero, terrific. Michael Lynch, terrific. Pam Ken yesterday, we went almost 55 minutes with Pam. She was outstanding. And if you have a young woman, a daughter who is, junior high, high school, college, and they want to be involved in sports somehow, some way in the future, have them watch the interview with Pam, because she carved out a wonderful, wonderful 25-year career with the Boston Red Sox organization. Geoff Iacuessa from the Portland Seadogs joins us in just a minute. And Locked On Red Sox, part of the Locked On Sports Podcast Network, presented by our friends, our friends at Prize Picks. Hey, you know what Prize Picks is by now. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick just more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get on the action in sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, Texas. Sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts, just like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks is able to discount select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. And a pleasure now to welcome in Geoff Iacuessa. He is the president and general manager of the Portland Seadogs. We all know as Red Sox fans, the Seadogs are a AA affiliate of the Red Sox in the Eastern League. Geoff, appreciate taking some time with us. And, I'm filling in here. I think an email I sort of mentioned filling in for Gabby Hurlbut on Locked On Red Sox. And I saw earlier this week, and, looking for different guests, looking for different angles. We're not talking about, Red Sox payroll and what they're going to do on the hot stove season just yet. Saw your name, saw Portland Seadogs from the Sports Business Journal. Excited to crown Portland, Maine as the #1 minor league sports market. When you were interviewed for the article and when it actually came out, and even the people have reached out to you this week to say congratulations, because the Seadogs are a huge part of that accolade. What are some of the thoughts? What are some of the things that people have passed on to you in offering congratulations?
Yeah, that's a great honor. Obviously, Sports Business Journal is a well-respected organization, and so to be recognized, Portland and all the great teams and all the great community support we get has been great, and the feedback has been outstanding. I've heard from a lot of people really across the country with congratulatory notes, and everybody kind of universally has said that's well deserved, and an honor that the entire city and the entire state really does deserve because of the makeup we have here of now what will be 4 professional sports teams in our city, starting next year with the professional soccer team that's coming to town. So feedback's been great. It's been really exciting. We found out about it a few weeks ago, and obviously did some of those interviews ahead of time, and we were excited because I think it's a great recognition for such a small city and such a small state.
So, hockey and baseball, hockey and the Seadogs, winter, spring, summer, fall. You may overlap a little bit in the springtime or early fall, but now a little bit more competition. G League has been there, and again another winter sport, but soccer comes in now. I'm sure it's more of hey, again, this is an accolade for the city, this is an accolade for the 3 sports franchises and what will be a 4th, but it is competition. But do the 4 sort of work together as well?
We do. I've got to know the guys from the soccer club really well. They're going to do an outstanding job. They're going to have a really good product, and they've got a really great plan, and I'm excited to see what they do. The Maine Celtics, we've had a great relationship with them since they came into town, and then the Maine Mariners, same thing. We all try to work together, try to help each other out. People have said that, like, are you worried about the competition? And I'm not. It's no different than any other entertainment venue that opens up or comes, concerts, whatever it might be, that comes down. The more reasons for folks to want to come to Portland and check out everything we have to offer, I think it's a great thing. If you put any minor league sports team in a remote area, it's going to be really, really difficult to draw fans and get excitement for it. But to be somewhere where there's other teams and there's a lot of cultural things to do, I just see it as a positive. And the soccer team's going to play right next door. I don't think we have for this year. I think they were telling me we don't have any overlap as far as game times. I think there's 2 games that they're going to have after ours. And I think there's a lot of good natural promotion for that too. Come to the Sea Dog game in the afternoon and in the Hearts of Pine game in the evening. And I think the more things you have to do, obviously it's competition because people are choosing where to go, but at the same time, it's just drawn more and more people in and more attention to it.
So, Geoff, minor league background, many years in minor league baseball as an announcer, and always loved my time. Doing a little, digging on, I've always known the Portland franchise. You from the Marlins, and then you got that Red Sox affiliate, and we'll touch on that. But, last couple of years up to, 6,000 plus in the ballpark at Hadlock. And we'll go into naming rights here too, because that's new for you guys. But just in terms of your fan base, obviously local, but I think you even sort of touched on it. When you're coming to Portland, it's such an amazing state because you have so many people going north to Portland in the summer months, and you're an attraction. So fan base compared to people there just coming for one game for a weekend or during the week, part of their vacation, what are the numbers? How do you break those down in terms of overall fan base, season ticket holders, and people, again, just making it part of their vacay?
Yeah, we're getting better and better at tracking that. It's difficult because if you just show up at the ballpark and buy a ticket at the window, we don't capture where you're from. And that's still a decent amount of the ticket sales. It's still probably about 80% of fans come from Maine. And about 20% come from out of state. And those numbers that might be a little bit higher. Our season ticket base is really strong. We have about 1,800 season ticket holders. Again, it's tough to track where those folks are coming from because they're giving tickets out to people. So we know the point of contact. We don't necessarily know the folks that are using them. And as we kind of adjust more and more into digital ticketing, we'll be able to track that a little bit better. But we know there's a lot of folks that come from out of state in the summertime to attend games. But we also know that folks throughout the state. I can remember my first season back in 2001, standing out front with my predecessor Charlie Eschbach, and there's a bus out front, and he looked at it, and it was from up north, and he said we could drive to New York City faster than it took them to get here. And you understand the distance to travel throughout the state, but it's a big deal for a lot of folks, especially when you go well north of Portland, to be able to come down to Portland and have events like this to be able to go to and experience the city. So. We know that we get great support in April and May, obviously before the tourists come to town, and we get comments from both home and road players all the time about how many people are here in April and May, even if the temperatures aren't outstanding. And I always remind them, we're coming out of winter. It's somewhat mild for us, even though it's not if you've been to spring training. But
it's not from people aren't coming from Florida and Arizona like the players are.
Exactly. So, the fans have embraced us, and I think equally important, we've tried to do everything we can to embrace the community, really going back to day one and doing everything we can. We're one of the smallest population markets, I think, in our league. The city's only 66,000, the state's 1.2 million, but we continuously and consistently draw, and I think that's the support of our community that's outstanding.
So you mentioned, Geoff, you started in 2001. The affiliation change, Marlins to Red Sox, fall of 2002. And then I didn't realize how fast the Maine Monster went up in left field. Talk about that from early on in your tenure with the Portland Seadogs, of how all those changes came about. So, once the affiliation change came with the Red Sox.
Yeah, so obviously Marlins through the 2002 season, and then we switched. It was September of 2002. So that project, albeit it wasn't it's not like you're building a building. We built a green wall 37 feet high, and that was a tough winter project, I think, for the folks working on it, because it did have to happen quick. I mean, it kind of got in motion late September. Was being built really throughout the winter. And I remember going out several times and helping where I could and kind of visiting with the crew, and came together, was ready for opening day, which was good. But it wasn't quite like this offseason. We're building a new clubhouse. That's a little bit different. That's a little bit more length of a project, but went up quick. And it was something that was really important to our former owner, Dan Burke, who started the team, and Charlie, that, if we're going to be a Red Sox affiliate, obviously, the Green Monster is iconic to Fenway Park. So having something unique for our ballpark that's we call it the Maine Monster. And, obviously from a player development standpoint, and that's a big part of what we do is the development of players. It'd be great to have them have that experience here as they're working their way up to Fenway.
So I didn't realize this until last night. Again, just reading up on some city notes. You mentioned that project. It's a winter project in Maine. Not easy to go from day one to completion before the year start of the minor league baseball season. But I didn't realize until reading about the new naming rights with the ballpark. Your ballpark is city owned, and I was in the Carolina League for many years. So Frederick ballpark city owned, Lynchburg, Virginia ballpark city owned. You have to work hard because your tenure has been long dealing with the city. People come and go. That's not an easy task. That's a lot of juggling, and that's a lot of glad handing and the different things. Can you speak on the relationship for the franchise, the Seadogs franchise, and the city of Portland over the years?
Oh yeah, it's been a great relationship, and look, we're a relationship business. From start to finish, everything we do is about relationships. So our relationship with the city has been strong, dating back to 1992 when the franchise was awarded to the city of Portland. The ballpark was built. I think at the time it was about $4 million to build the ballpark, and we've made upgrades. It would have been a big ask, obviously, for the city to try to carry on these PDL improvements. They're going to be like $10 to $13 million. So, our ownership stepped up, and part of that is, as you mentioned, with the new lease with the city, we're paying for all of the PDL improvements, but gaining the opportunity to sell naming rights was a big piece of it. It doesn't cover all of it, obviously, but certainly helps with some of that expense to get the ballpark up to PDL compliant. And that's, that was important to the city and us, obviously, because now it's going to be a MLB approved ballpark moving forward. And there's a lot of value of that to the city, obviously value to us to make sure that we can stay here and continue to play. So, but the relationship with the city has always been strong. Even with the state, a lot of great supporters from us. Fortunately, we've worked hard to create a good reputation within our community. So, even if folks don't necessarily agree with things that need to be done or want to be done, you can always have a conversation and get to where you need to be.
Geoff, not hard hitting here, but I certainly want to get your thoughts on it as you were, providing the answer there. Out of COVID, Major League Baseball, minor league baseball, a lot of changes. Have those changes been more positive than negative? Because as they were changing, there was a lot of like, this isn't going to work. All these, they're going to be minor league towns and cities losing ballparks, but no news is good news. Sometimes there hasn't been years later. There haven't been those follow-up stories. The relationship now and the way they made those tweaks has it been positive for minor league affiliates in your view? From Portland to the other teams that are in the Eastern League and beyond.
I certainly think it's been positive, and I think what Major League Baseball is trying to do is to create a level playing field, no pun intended, for everybody, all the different teams and all the different facilities. That you get a similar experience whether you're a home team or a road team, and no matter where you're playing. And I think that's really important. They've called it, and I agree with it. Modernizing the facility experience and the experience of the players, because at the end of the day, we are a development for Major League Baseball players. So that's a really important piece. We operate the business side, they operate the baseball side, but it's really important to MLB to make sure that from the baseball perspective, that the experience for their players is going to be consistent throughout. So I think it's been overwhelmingly positive. I know, it was tough to see some markets go. It was tough timing coming out of COVID. We lost that season, and then to have this kind of come in at that time was tough timing. But like anything, I do the job because it's a challenge every day, and it continues to be a challenge every day. And I love the challenge that comes with it. And this was another challenge to kind of figure out how are we going to get to being an MLB compliant stadium. And, now outside my door, they're literally working on that clubhouse. So overall, it's certainly been a positive.
So from the minor league broadcasters' perspective, so much different, radio affiliates or whatever, where, everything's online now, with social media being the way it is. Emma or Riley's home run calls over this last season, they're out there in the social media world. I thought it was awesome as an organization's perspective, off the charts for what Emma Tiedemann and Riley Pay were able to do this year, being recognized as what the Red Sox did with women in sports and being part of the NESN broadcast. Where were you? Where were the other members of the front office as Emma and Riley this year were on NESN?
We were up here watching in Portland, and I'll tell you what, it was one of the most exciting Red Sox games I've watched. And I've watched a lot, obviously a lot of World Series over the last 20 years and a lot of fun and exciting games. But that's close to the top, if not the top. Just having the relationship with both of them and seeing how hard they come in and work every day, how to master their craft, how outstanding human beings they both are, which is really important. And so just to see them get that opportunity, I'm a firm believer they're both big league level broadcasters, and they'll both get that opportunity as they continue to get experience at the minor league level. And that's what we talk about a lot, right? From the players' perspective, they're trying to make the big leagues, and from the broadcasters' perspective, they're trying to make the big leagues. So to see them get that opportunity and to shine on that stage wasn't a surprise that they shine on the stage, but it was great to see them shine on that stage. And their time is coming for opportunities at the big leagues, and I'll be so excited for them.
So I think I do this not flawlessly, but in a sense of, segue here. We're going to talk about the Netflix documentary, and I don't care if you've seen it yet or not. If you have, we could certainly go a couple more minutes on it. I'm sure you will at some point in time. For Emma and everything she's experienced in her life in the last year, and even with Riley too, just the two of them, there's a documentary leading up to, and really the entire 24 season. And if you would share Emma's story a little bit, because it's a tip of the cap and truly amazing.
Emma's outstanding. And it's funny, her first day here was the day that we closed for COVID. That was her starting day. We came in on that Monday and I had to send everybody to work from home.
That's where the doc starts then.
Exactly. We still laugh about it. Emma we had about 134 applicants for that job when Mike Antonellis went up in at the time Pawtucket, and now he's working in Worcester. And Mike had been with us for a long time, outstanding broadcaster, outstandand person. We were lucky to have him, and we're excited for him to get that opportunity. So when we opened up the job, we had more than 130 applicants, and I listened to every single kind of reel that folks sent in. And I would listen. Some I listened to longer than others. Some I was like, nope, won't work, and got it down to like 25. Got the staff involved. We ended up getting down to a top 10, interviewing everybody, and then top 3. And universally, Emma, we got season ticket holders involved, we got sponsors involved. Universally, Emma kept coming out on top. And when I interviewed her, that she clearly was the top candidate. And one, a couple of things I remember, like with her resume and cover letter, just speaking about her experience. And if you look at her experience, she was never afraid to take chances on herself. She had opportunities in Minnesota, Alaska, Kentucky. You saw that she was always willing to take that step, the next step needed to kind of progress her career. And that's really important. It wasn't somebody that's just staying in one spot saying, I hope I get the call. She was always willing to take that next step. And that really excited me about her. And just, she gets minor league baseball. She gets that you got to pull the tarp. She gets that there's all these little things that nobody knows we do that we have to do. And, so you talk about somebody that gets it. She gets it, obviously with the behind the scenes business office stuff, but also with the important stuff of being a broadcaster. And I vetted her references pretty well as well, and just making sure. She brings everything to the table that you want in a broadcaster.
It's from an outsider's, observation. Whether it was a NESN broadcast or just, again, listening to their highlights or listening to Seadog games during this last season, you've sort of 100% nailed Emma there for me, because it's exactly what she presents is exactly what you're saying she is, and going through that process and stuff. So that's terrific. Have you seen the 3-part series with the Netflix doc for the 2004 World Series champs?
I started it last night, so I've seen part 1. So by the end of the weekend, I'm not a binge watcher, so I watched the first one. It was outstanding, and I am excited to see the next 2 parts.
Possible. This is the hard-hitting question. Possible you got emotion in the final 8 to 10 minutes of that one with the Tim Wakefield stuff?
That was certainly an emotional thing, because he was just such an outstanding contributor to the Red Sox and the history, and both on and off the field. And I remember them talking a lot about that in 2004 and after they won in 2004, just how he felt in 2003 after that home run. And so glad that his career that it didn't go that way, and his career ended up the way that it is. Obviously heartbreaking what happened for both him and his wife and his family. But it's certainly emotional. And it's funny. It's tough to watch that. My wife and I were watching it last night. We're reminiscing about where we were when we watched that Game 7. But then, the nice thing about watching that documentary is that how it's going to end up. So you can kind of stomach that first part.
Yeah. And as you know of how, things, There's a happy ending at the end of 3, but you're the only thing I'll spoil for you is you're going to absolutely love the final 12 minutes of episode number 3.
Awesome.
And I think you're going to get chills, and I think you're going to it'll be emotional with how they wrapped it up. Because I'll just say this, and I'm going to touch on this after we say goodbye to wrap us up. But there's only 12 minutes. Everything goes up. Final 12 minutes is about the World Series. So everything else leading up to that is getting through the Yankees. So you're kind of thinking, okay, what's the last 12 minutes going to be? They couldn't have done it any better. That's what I'll leave you with, and I will say thank you. Congratulations. I know this wasn't an individual award. It was for Portland, but a big part of being touted by the Sports Business Journal as the #1 minor league destination in the U.S. Geoff, thanks so much, and I'll say it. It's on my to-do list, but hopefully one day I get to Hadlock, and I will continue to call it Hadlock at least for this.
Please come up anytime. Thank you for having me this afternoon.
Thanks so much, Geoff. Geoff Iacuessa, President, General Manager of the Portland Seadogs. And I'll share an email with Geoff at some point in time, my connection to Portland, because it's connections across the board. And there's a guy that I told him I knew, and he still talks to Andy Young. But Andy Young is the guy who sort of jump-started my minor league broadcasting career. And we didn't have at that time, teams were putting together their first time websites. You had the Baseball America directory, and that's how you found front office people. It wasn't really, you couldn't Google search at that point in time, 1999, 2000, 2001. So I'll share that with Geoff at another time. Thank you again to Geoff Iacuessa, President GM of the Portland Seadogs, the AA affiliate of the Boston Red Sox. Was going to get his thoughts. I wanted to get his thoughts on the documentary. He's watched episode 1 as he shared. I was going to ask him about the minor league prospects this year. That's going to be heavy next week when we fill in again for Gabby Hurlbut, Locked On Red Sox podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, also Locked On Red Sox YouTube channel as well. We'll set the lineup, then I'm going to give some final thoughts on episode number 3 of the comeback, the 2004 World Series, and the 2004 World Series champion Boston Red Sox, the Netflix documentary. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's outstanding. I'm not going to spoil anything for you. But again, next week, confirmed, Jemai Webster from Nesson, sideline reporter on the Nesson broadcast with Dave O'Brien, Kevin Youkilis, Lou Merloni, Kevin Millar from time to time. Jemai is going to join us on Monday. We're going to go noon Eastern live next week with Locked On Red Sox YouTube channel. Then we're going to talk with Red Sox AA manager Chad Epperson. That's who I should have asked Geoff more about as well. Shame on me. Wednesday is TBA, but we're trying to lock down one of the Red Sox minor league players currently playing in the Arizona Fall League, hoping that's next Wednesday. And then Thursday, we're going to talk Red Sox present day with Jen McCaffrey, who does a wonderful job for The Athletic covering the Boston Red Sox. That's going to be next Thursday. Again, encourage you to go back, whether it's on the Locked On Red Sox YouTube channel, this week's interviews. Do it a little bit different than Gabby. She does have interviews. She's done terrific interviews over the years. And you can go back and watch the interview that she did with Emma Tiedemann from the Portland Seadogs during this past regular season. Those are archived on the YouTube channel. But this week, talking with MLB.com's Ian Brown, Devin Marrero, who covers the Red Sox, former big leaguer, former first-round pick from the Red Sox as well, now on Nesson in studio as an analyst. That interview with Devin was on Tuesday. Michael Lynch talking 2004 from Seamheads with us on Wednesday. And then yesterday talking again with Pam Ken from the Boston Red Sox front office, wrapping up a terrific 25-year career as a member of the Red Sox executive team and front office as well. So again, let's go over some of these things. We will take our break, and then we're going to be really close and tight here. But again, we'll hit on a little bit more of episode number 3 of the Red Sox documentary from Netflix. Steve Lennox, Locked On Red Sox, and the Locked On Red Sox YouTube channel as well. So excited to talk with you. If you have comments, if you're with us on the Locked On Red Sox YouTube channel, you have a comment with Geoff's interview or anything else, the Netflix documentary, feel free to hit the the comment button right now. Locked On Red Sox, part of the Locked On Sports Podcast Network, presented by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the very same page that you place your bets. You can get started with FanDuel, and you can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you play your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. All right, final thoughts, episode number 3, and our third segment on Locked On Red Sox, filling in for Gabby Hurlbut on this Friday. And final thoughts from the documentary. Netflix did a terrific job. The Barnacle brothers, as they're now being talked about, doing a wonderful job with the whole thing. You are going to absolutely love episode number 3 of the comeback 2004 Boston Red Sox. Curt Schilling, Game 6. There were a couple of interesting tidbits in there. And I am glad. My observation on Schilling, I'm glad that he was part of it. I'm glad he was able to have the sit-down, the couch interview, the chair interview. And it's some of his teammates, Millar, Nixon, a couple of other guys. I don't know what the relationship right now is with the Red Sox and Schilling. I don't know what the relationship is for Curt Schilling with his former teammates from that 2004 World Series championship team. It did seem like the door was open to reconcile. I'll say that. If it happens in the future, Buckner came back. An entirely different situation. Curt Schilling, his doings, a lot of the stuff that he's gotten himself into over the years, he's done it all by himself. But maybe there's one day in the future, Curt Schilling's more a part of his former teammates along the way as well. Last out of Game 7 of the American League Championship Series, ground ball to Pokey Reese, Joe Castiglione the call. That's where you start to get chills. And I'll tell you this, really focus on that because they did a terrific job. Joe Castiglione's call, and then you don't hear another voice for 30, 40 seconds. It was so well done. Millar, to Theo, to David Ortiz, to Pedro. Notice Pedro's smile. They don't say a word. They don't say a word. And you hear Joe Castiglione say, "Move over, babe. The Red Sox are American League champions." Chills. Just absolute chills. Then Theo, post-game press conference at Yankee Stadium, talking about the Red Sox teams of the past, even the 2003 team. And then I just simply close. And again, getting chills just thinking about it. And I mentioned it earlier it dawned on me of the job's not done. You've beaten the Yankees. You've come from 3-0 down in the ALCS, but that almost would have meant nothing if they didn't go to St. Louis and win it. And from reading Terry Francona's book with Terry Francona's book with Dan Shaughnessy and the accounts of the documentary, the Red Sox front office ownership, did they know it was going to be 4-0 against the Cardinals in the World Series? No, but they were confident, and rightfully so as well. But the final 12 minutes, as they're leaving the field at Yankee Stadium, as they're celebrating, as they're on the field after the game is over, Tim Wakefield is there, family. And it's not all Tim Wakefield, but just the emotion of the Wakefield family for what he meant to New England, the organization, his teammates. They did have present-day Jason Varitek talking about Wakefield. And Joe Torre actually sought Tim Wakefield out and shared the story present day in this interview of, after 2003, they walked off, Boone home run against Wakefield in extra innings, sending the Yankees to the World Series. And, Torre, that guy pitched well. And Torre sought Tim Wakefield out and was able to talk to him after the Red Sox completed that comeback, winning Game 7 of the 2004 ALCS. I'm not ruining it. You watch it and you take it in for yourself. The last 12 minutes covers the World Series. That's it. Everything else is up to the Yankees. Everything else is the history. Episode 1, taking it through 2003 and the anguish, taking episode number 2 through the Nomar Garcia-Parra deal at the deadline in 2004, and then winning it all. And again, if you haven't seen, Geoff was just on us from the Portland Seadogs. He doesn't binge watch. He's watched episode 1. I was the same way. Episode 1, the last 3 mornings were spent watching episode 1, 2, and wrapping it up earlier today. You're going to love it. That's a wrap for us. We're going to get out of here. Again, thanks to Geoff Iacuessa from the Portland Seadogs, and a tip of the cap to Portland, the Seadogs, and the other 3 sports franchises that make up for Sports Business Journal, the #1 minor league sports market and destination as well. Again, we're back at it next week, all week for Gabby Hurlbert, Locked On Red Sox. Again, thanks to our sponsors, as always, FanDuel, and all of our other sponsors as well, FanDuel and Prize Picks, on this latest episode of Locked On Red Sox. Again, we are available wherever you get your podcast. That is a wrap for us. Again, back at it on Monday. Locked On Red Sox YouTube channel, 12 Eastern, with Jemai Webster, who is on the Nesson broadcast, along with Dave O'Brien and the analyst as well. Locked On Sports and Locked On Sports Network. Your team, your Red Sox, every day.